Lesson 34, proportions and ratio word problems. So first off, what's a proportion? Proportion is just a statement that two ratios are equal. And so right here you can see proportions. So 3/5 is equal to 60 over x. So you have proportions where you have the equal sign in between. And you solve it. There's a couple ways of solving it. One way is cross multiply and then you divide. Another way would be, if you're able to do it, what do you multiply 3 by to get 60? And whatever you multiply in the numerator, you must also multiply in the denominator. Sometimes it's not as easy doing it that way, so then you would cross multiply and divide. So they cross multiply 3 times x equals 5 times 60, which is 300. Divide by 3 on both sides to get your answer of 100. And then ratios can be written a couple ways. You can write it as a fraction. You can write it with a colon. You can write it with the word to, T-O. So let's look at an example. Nora is paid $12 an hour. Is her pay proportional to the number of hours she works? So you can see in the chart there, Nora's pay, so she works 1 hour, she gets paid $12. So her pay to hours is 12 to 1. 2 hours she works, she gets $24. So the pay is 24 to 2. So you simplify that, it's still 12 to 1. 3 hours, she gets paid $36. That's $36 to 3 hours, reduces 12 to 1. And then 4 hours worked gets you $48. So 48 to 4 would be reduced to 12 to 1. Since the rate is the same, they all equal 12 over 1. So is her pay proportional to the number of hours she works? Yes. If the pay to hours were not the same, it would not be proportional. But because it is, her pay is proportional to the number of hours she works. Nelson has a paper route. If he works by himself, the job takes 60 minutes. If he splits the route with a friend, it takes 30 minutes. If 2 friends help, the job takes 20 minutes. Is the amount of time it takes to complete the route proportional to the number of people working? If we look at our table, 1 person working, it takes 60, so it's 60 over 1. 2 people working, it was 30, so that's 15 to 1. 3 people working, takes 20 minutes, so that's 20 to 3. They are not all the same, so no, this is not proportional. And for it to be proportional, it has to be consistent. It has to have the same rate each time. Next one, a wholesaler offers discounts for large purchases. The table shows the price of an item for various quantities. Is the price proportional to the quantity, and how do you know? So let's take a look at that one. So if we want to find out what is the average, so if we take the price over the quantity, this is 3. So then if I do 200 over 100, that's 2. And 1,000 over 1,000, that's 1. The rate is not the same, so no, this isn't proportional because the rate is not the same per quantity. A retailer sells an item for $5. Brenda needs several of the items. Is this total price proportional to the quantity purchased? And how do you know? Yes, this will be proportional. And how do we know? Because it says that the retailer sells an item for $5. So no matter what you buy, it costs $5. So the constant price is $5 no matter what. So if you buy 2 items, that's going to be $10. and 10 divided by 2 is 5. If you buy 3 items, that's going to be $15. 15 divided by 3 is 5. So that's how you know if it's proportional to the number of items you're buying. Next example, here we're going to use, we have proportions set up and we're going to solve this one. I'll show a couple ways so you can see that it does work both ways. So if I'm going 24 over m equals 8 over 5. 24 divided by 3 gives me 8. So if I multiply 8 times 3 gives me 24. So if I multiply 5 times 3, that's going to give me m equaling 15. I can do it another way. I can also cross multiply. So 24 times 5 gives me 120 equals, cross multiply the other way, 8m. To get m by itself, the opposite of multiplying by 8 is dividing by 8. So 120 divided by 8 gives me 15. So there are a couple ways of doing that. You can either determine what it is straight across, multiply the same number, or you do the cross multiplication. Don't do 24 times 8 and then divide by 5 if you will not get the right answer. If you're going to use the cross multiplication, it has to go diagonally. So the next one, solve 4 over 6 equals c over 18. So if I look at 6 to 18, how do I get from 6 to 18? If I multiply this by 3, that gives me 18. So that means if it's proportional, I should be able to multiply the numerator by 3 to get my answer. 4 times 3 is 12. Well, let's do the cross multiplication just to prove that it would be. So I would do 4 times 18, which would give me 72, equals 6 times c. To get c by itself, I divide by 6. 72 divided by 6, c gives me 12. So again, there's 2 different ways of solving this one. You can choose which method you want to use. I just want to make sure that I can see what you're doing. The ratio of boys to girls in the class is 3 to 4. So the ratio, the boys, 3 boys to 4 girls. If there are 12 girls, the actual count, 12 girls, how many are boys? I need to find that part. So from here, I can set up my ratios. 3 to 4 equals, I'll use b for boys over 12. I can multiply 4 times 3 to give me 12. So that means I can multiply 3 by 3 to give me my b, which b would be 9. So 9 boys. Otherwise, I could do cross multiply 3 times 12, which is 36. Cross multiply here gives me 4b. Get b by itself, divide by 4. B still equals 9, because 36 divided by 4 is 9. Next one, e over 9 equals 5 over 15. Now, there's nothing you can multiply 9 by to get 15. That's a whole number. So this is one where I would do the cross multiplication. E times 15 is 15e. 9 times 5 is 45. To get e by itself, I divide by 15. Do that on both sides. E would now have to equal 45 divided by 15 gives you 3. Next one, 9 over 3 is the same as 18 over d. I know that I can multiply 9 by 2 to give me 18. That means I multiply 3 by 2 to give me my d. 3 times 2 would give you 6. Again, I'm going to do the cross multiplication to prove it. 9 times d is 9d. 3 times 18 gives us 54. To get d by itself, I divide by 9. D still equals 6, so I know I was correct. And the next one, the ratio of the length to the width of a rectangular room is 5:4. So the length, 5, width, 4. This first column is my ratio. And they said if the room is 20 feet long, so the length is 20, what is its width? We need to find the W. So 5 over 4 is 20 over W. I know that 5 and 20 work well together, so I know I can multiply 5 by 4 to give me my 20. So if it works in the numerator, it must work in the denominator. So 4 times 4 would give me my W, which is 16. And you can always check your answer. 5 times W is 5W. 4 times 20 is 80. To get W by itself, divide by 5 on both sides. 80 divided by 5 still gives you your 16. So just checking my answer to make sure that I did it correctly. Now the last two problems. Solve this one. 4 is to F as 3 is to 12. Here I don't have a whole number to multiply 4 by to get 3, so I'm going to cross multiply. So 4 times 12 is 48. 3 times F is 3F. To get F by itself, divide by 3. 48 divided by 3 gives you 16. So our answer would be 4 over 16. Which would make sense because you could also do this. 4 over F equals, I can reduce 3/12. 3/12 is 1/4. And I know I can multiply 1 times 4 to give me 4. So 4 times 4 would give me my F, which is 16. Which pairs of ratios forms a proportion? Which means which two fractions equal each other? So if I were to look at A, 3/6 is 1/2. 6/3, I can divide by 3/3, which would give me 2/3. Those are not equal. 3/6 is half. 6/12 is half. They are proportional. 3/6 is half. 6 divided by 3 is 2. They are not proportional. So B is our only pair of ratios that form a proportion. And the last one here. The teacher-student ratio in the primary grades is 1 to 20. So one teacher for every 20 students. If there are 100 students in the primary grades, how many teachers are there? So 1 over 20 is the same as T over 100. Now I know 20 and 100 work well together. So if I multiply 20 by 5, that will give me my 100. So if I multiply 5 in the numerator, that will give me the number of teachers. So 1 times 5 would give us 5 teachers. So that is our lesson on proportions and ratios.